Absolute Superman, issue 11, Jason Aaron writing with Carmine Di Giandomenico on the art. So last issue ended with Superman being successfully knocked out and taken captive by Ra's al Ghul and co. And this issue is him strapped to a table with like wires prodding at his brain, and Brainiac is trying to condition him, trying to break him with all these like scenarios that they're showing in his head where they're trying to get him to get more violent, to like give up this this desire not to kill anyone, to basically just turn him into the killing son that Ra's al Ghul wants, the son of the demon, basically. And of course, the heart of the story is that Superman simply will just not do that. He will not. They basically try and make him like want to like unleash because of the Kents. They try and give him all these scenarios where the Kents are whatever. And at one point they even do a fake out where you think he's woken up and he's going to kill Brainiac for all this torture. And I have to admit, I was sitting there going, nah, this is one of his tricks. This is one of the fake stories.
See, I was on the opposite side of that, because I was like, they did it. They woke him up and then they showed it was a thing. And then for the rest of the issue, I was sitting there thinking, is this still a thing? Are we still in the simulation? Like, I don't know how much of this is actually happening anymore now that we can just fake reality.
No, because I think it does a good job of every time one ends, it always feels like it snaps back. So, like, it snaps back to, like, Brainiac standing over him, getting frustrated. Damn, you won't even kill me. And I've been torturing him for, a week or whatever it's been. So, yeah, I dug this. I think it was a nice change of pace of an issue, because it was like, okay, we had a lot of action last time. This is going to be a more cerebral, we're in his head, but we're kind of going to show the will of Superman and his desire to still kind of be what we think of him as being. Even though this is a much darker version, it's a darker world, all the rest of it. We start off, like, the first thing they've got him doing, he's on Krypton, he's been struck by lightning, and he's, all the injustice of what happened there.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, we've also got obviously the fact that we have Talia now. We know who Talia is, so she's like sticking around. She's kicking Jimmy in the face and all sorts. They're keeping Lois and Jimmy with the intention of being, Superman's final test will be to kill these two. Like, that's what they're going to, that's what they're trying to convince him to do. So,
well, that's kind of the bit that I've been on and off of this issue. I went back and read back the entire last arc, starting with that Brainiac kind of one-shot separate thing. But one thing that got me was how quickly Jimmy has seemingly devolved from, like, yeah, he's this masked member of the Omega Men, a Freedom Force that's going out doing whatever. And in this issue, he is essentially the Jimmy Olsen butt monkey that we're all familiar with. Like, at one point they have Lois be like, wait a minute, do you hear that? And he's like, I have irritable bowel syndrome. I can't control it. And it's just like, all right, yeah, that's Jimmy.
Yeah, it strikes me as they wanted to give him a cool entrance, but to be fair, this does kind of track with the idea that he was fooled by his second in command, who was actually Talia, and was using this idea of the Omega Men to further Ra's al Ghul's goals. So the idea that he is a bit of a chump that does actually work. It doesn't make sense. So I get what you're saying, though. Yeah. So no, like like, credit to Giandomenico here, because I mean, I've enjoyed his art before, for sure, right? But I do think there was a bit of a challenge with him being the second artist on this book, because the regular artist is really good for a start, but the idea here that, like, I think of Domenico as a bit more cartoony overall, and I think, well, I can still recognize it's his art if I'm looking for it. Like, some of the stuff, like, with Brainiac, screaming at his, like, Brainiac drones. Because, I mean, obviously we know he's demented because we saw his origin in that issue you mentioned. But, like, when one of the other Brainiac clones says something he doesn't like, he's like, cut out your tongue. Oh, demerit for you. Lose an eye. Like, he's just, like, telling them to, like, take out parts of their body left and right.
It's not even something he doesn't like. Like, it's just... Well, the Brainiac drone comes up and says, hey, the other drones and I have been talking. You keep on saying Kryptonian meteorite. We think it would be snazzier for you to say kryptonite. And he's like, that's stupid. You're stupid. Cut out your tongue. And he's like, yes, sir, we'll do.
Yeah. So I was having fun with. I mean, I really like that issue with his backstory, and I'm really digging like his demented kind of. I mean, his look for one, but also just his general kind of like attitude and vibes. Because you kind of get the feeling like, okay, he's working for Raz now, and he's being kind of subordinate, but like the second he thinks he can just like overthrow or like whatever, it feels like he will. Like he cannot be trusted in any way, shape, or form. So
he's coming here, he's given all this power to Roz, and he's made him feel like he's in charge, but like it absolutely has the machinations within machinations idea, where like the moment that Roz fulfills his role, Brainiac's gonna be like, and now for my bigger plan.
Yeah. So the big thing in this issue, other than what's happened to Superman, is that Lois's dad, Sam Lane, comes in under the guise of coming as, you know, who he is to talk to them. But as soon as he gets in, he whips out a hidden weapon that he had in his leg, because he's there to break out his daughter. He's there to try and get his daughter back. And she's like, okay, we're bringing Jimmy. And he's like worried, oh, don't tell me this is how you get into this mess, is for this skinny pipsqueak. And she's like, no, but he's coming with us. Also, we have to go save someone else. So there's some good heart in this issue, because not only do you have Superman not breaking and refusing to kill, even in these like scenarios that he's been presented with, you also have Lois like going out of her way to go save his ass. So there's a lot of things to like feel really heartwarmed by over the course of the issue.
I mean, I'll argue that point a little bit. Yes, the Lois bit. However, I think what's more interesting is that it's not that Superman's refusing to kill in all these scenarios, because they showed the first scenario is essentially back on Krypton. His parents are being charged with whatever crime, sentenced to death, and he's going to the Phantom Zone. And he straight up kills like the entire ruling class on Krypton.
Well, let me rephrase it a little bit. They keep escalating to being more and more innocent people. So it's like, you know, it gets to the point where it's like the sweet old Kents. They're trying to get him to rage out and kill. But he doesn't want to be that, right? The whole heart of it is that he's even says to himself, no, this is not what I want to be. So, the heartwarming stuff is there. It's very much Will as Superman and all that. So yeah, it's always interesting when you make him vulnerable and you have to have other characters rescue him. The big thing here is that Talia kills Sam Lane. She throws a knife through his head, because he still sort of talks for a second. He's like, I can't feel anything. And you know, Lois is like holding her dead dad and being like, oh, I'll get you for this. How dare you? I mean, obviously we're in the Absolute Universe. We can kill some characters that we wouldn't maybe otherwise kill in the mainline universe. That's it. I feel like Sam Lane's the sort of one where they could kill him though. If like someone really had a good idea for why they wanted to kill him, I think DC would let them. But
I feel like he has died before. Am I wrong on that? Is he not even dead in the main continuity?
He might be. I don't remember. I don't remember the last time he came up.
No, yeah, that was that Leviathan thing Bendis did. I think he died during that event.
I don't remember, but I mean, it sounds plausible, yes.
But yeah, no, I the only thing that I would give this one a little bit of whatever for is the fact that I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, is this the first time we're seeing him at all, period? And he just shows up essentially to be killed?
No, because we knew he had the cyborg legs. We definitely saw him before.
Okay. All right. I remember, I read the, like I said, up from the Brainiac issue. I know Lois mentioned it. She said his legs, but I've never actually seen him, so I must have just missed that one.
No, I think we did see him once, but so yeah, I think this was a solid issue. I think I like the detail as well, that when they do come in to get Superman and after Sam Lane's been killed, it's actually one of the other Brainiac drones or clones who goes over and like releases the Sol, the red mist cape.
Oh yeah.
Because they've got it in this like tank thing to keep it away from Superman so it can't help him. And it's one of them that chooses to do it, which is almost like a nice little thing. Even if it's not necessarily for the good of like helping Superman, it's more about I hate Brainiac 1, so I'm like helping this prisoner.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bits when Brainiac is he talks to his drones and tells them like, hey, do this, do that, and one of them says like, we deserve liberation, and he's like, who said that? All right, no one's owning up to it, I'm killing all of you. And so he starts slashing to pieces, and then Brainiac talks to Superman as he's still under sedation or whatever, and basically says, apparently, I checked the like recordings and stuff of this, in your sleep in the middle of the night, you've been whispering to them subsonically words of inspiration to have them rebel, which is crazy because they're essentially walking toasters. So you're just incredibly able to make anybody rebel against any system. And that is so interesting to me. And I'm like, that is such a good breakdown of who this Superman is. Of he is able to just inspire this rebellion against being like treated like crap and just being able to live your own freedom. I really like that as a character.
I mean, I think that's something that just Superman in general is, but I think they've really focused on it with the Absolute Superman, where it's this theme of like rising up against oppressors and like helping the people who are being oppressed has been a big part of it. You know, because the first time we saw him on Earth helping people, it was like, you know, the miners, I think it was, who were being, you know, used by the locals. Yeah. And then obviously in Krypton, so they've definitely made it this running thing. So the idea that he's looking at these drones and being like, "Hey, you don't have to, you know, do what he says. You can, you deserve better than this," which is funny because, you know, Brainiac 1 had his own little rebellion. That's how he became Brainiac 1. He took it. But he didn't like say, "Oh, I'm going to make things better for the next wave of Brainiacs." He said, "No, I'm going to rule with even more of an iron fist like a psychopath because I'm in charge now."
Well, when you spend years and years shoveling just dead versions of yourself, you do kind of mentally crack a little bit. There is one thing at the end of this issue, though, that I think, you know, it's I think pretty obvious where we're going to go with it, but it is the cliffhanger of, in the last scenario, it is Lazarus Corps is attacking the Kents, and he does end up snapping. He does end up killing, in the scenario, Ra's al Ghul and Talia, and he basically gets incepted of this version of Bob Pa Kent, are saying like, hey, the world sucks, and you got to go out there and you got to fight, and you got to be willing to kill for certain things.
I mean,
so
no, the actual last thing they say to him before he wakes up is, "Get out there and kill them all." That's beyond just you have to be willing to kill. That's, you know, go and murder everyone, son. Yeah. So, which is, you know, only a little bit darker than the horrible version of the Kents from Man of Steel. So, yeah, I mean, the big thing at the end, though, is that when Saul does come back to Superman and says, "I'm getting us out of here. We're going to deal with this." The cliffhanger is the building seemingly explodes as like Saul is expanding out all over the place. Like we see just Saul is stretching out from the building. So obviously they're teasing here that maybe people are hurt in the explosion. I suspect that, you know, Lois and others will be fine. You know, maybe Saul's helped protect them or whatever the reason is. But that's the cliffhanger we end on. So
yeah, and then he's also like about to kill Brainiac. Like his hands around his throat, and he might actually go that extra mile now.
Yes, he might. Yes, but we don't know if he has, and you know, we'll see. So no, I mean, I think this was a solid issue. It was a nice change of pace. I felt like, because I enjoyed the last issue a lot, but it did feel like there was maybe 2 or 3 in a row of like storming like Lazarus like company bases and things like that. This felt like it was a very different format, very different structure. Had some big sort of turning points happen in the story for some of the characters. So yeah, plus, you know, some good violence. Sam Lane gets you know, a knife through the head. I mean, it's in silhouette to try and tone down, because I feel like if you didn't put it in silhouette, it probably would get the comic bumped up to a mature rating.
I'd love to see the pencils on it, because I feel like the pencils are going to have the whole thing.
Yeah, but I bet G. Domenico like was really proud of it, putting a lot of detail into the blood and the gore, and then like the editor looked at it and went, "Oh no, color that in all in silhouette because we can't show that."
The editors are like, "Domenico, you've done it again. It's fantastic." And then it gets to the inker, and it's like, "Yeah, we're gonna need that all black. Not a single thing shown."
Oh dear. So yeah, I mean, you know, the art's not as good as the regular artist, but Domenico is very good, and I do think that it handles like the emotional stuff fairly well. I will say one of the places where his style does kind of lend itself is Saul at the end, because all the crazy lines going everywhere of the Saul stuff does feel like it fits his line work quite well. So yeah, that's good.
I also do like just the manicness that he instills in Brainiac, like that crazy. Well, while I like the other artist version of Superman and Lois and like how everyone else looks there just a bit more, I think the sketchy lines and like how manic he makes Brainiac really does shine through.
It almost has like a Joker smile at some points, this Brainiac, which is kind of an interesting visual. So, cool. What you give an Absolute Superman issue 11?
I did really enjoy this one. I think it's as you said, it's a good mix-up. I read this entire arc basically in one go, and I did feel a little bit of a slog a little bit as we were, again, just storming Lazarus, and it felt like it was the same thing for a bunch of issues of, we have to convince Superman to attack Ra's, and he's morally against it. But this is a good change of pace where it is the breakdown. It is showing like, okay, we're going to brainwash him out of it. So I appreciate that from a story perspective, and I think it's going to just squeeze out an 8 from me.
Yeah, I was thinking an 8. I think, you know, if it was, again, the art is good, but I think if it wasn't like the second artist and it was the usual first artist, I think I would be maybe just a little bit more positive overall. But I think it gets the 8. I think this was a good chapter of the story.